Hi, I am with Diana del Puerto. She was the wife of the first ambassador of Colombia to Australia from 1990 to 1993. Diana lived 3 years in Cambodia, Australia, and she has a very interesting life there. How did you find people in Australia? What did you think of them?
Absolutely charming and extremely welcoming. And it is very funny because most people in Australia, when they meet you, they ask you 3 questions. Where are you from? Welcome to Australia. And what sport do you play?
So they're extremely active.
Very active, very sporty people.
You lived in Cambodia for 3 years. How was it living in Cambodia? Was it a dangerous place?
No, Canberra is not dangerous at all. It is a capital city that was built because the old capital was in Melbourne, the city of Melbourne, and Sydney, the other city of extreme importance, was its rival city, and there was a rivalry between the 2 cities, so the government decided to build a capital city between those 2 cities, and it is the only city in the whole of Australia that does not border the ocean.
And is it an expensive city?
It was relatively expensive, I wouldn't say too much.
And we know Australia is a place with a lot of nature, exotic nature. Was Cambodia with lots of nature? How was the nature?
Yes, it is really and truthfully out in the countryside. And it is a very small city of 250,000 people. And really the only thing that is there is the government and the diplomats.
And like were the animals, what type of animals?
Oh yes, you could see the kangaroos would visit my garden every day. And the wombats, and the beautiful birds, the cockatoos, and it was very, very.
And were those animals dangerous?
Well, you don't play around with kangaroos. Yes, they can be dangerous, yes.
Everybody talks about the Australian outback. You have lived in the Australian outback. What's the Australian outback?
The Australian outback is really the center of Australia that is very dry, it's very much a desert, and literally unlivable, and for the exception of kangaroos and certain animals, etc. And the olden times, and even now in a few places, the Aborigines, which were the first people that lived in Australia, that is the place where they used to live.
And in Cambodia, did you feel the dryness, the heat of the outback?
Not really, no.
What were the typical activities of Australians and in Australia during weekends?
Well, as I said before, sports. They are fanatical in all kinds of sports. They play rugby, and it's a very special type of rugby because it's with the Australian rules, and it's very interesting. They play tennis, they swim, they're very sporty people.
And what did you do in the weekends?
Well, I'm not a sporty person, so I used to accompany my husband everywhere.
What was the typical food of Australia?
Well, the Australians love their barbecue, and they call it the barbie. And that everybody in Australia has a little backyard, and that is what they love to do, their barbecues.
And do they go out much, or did they just...
Well, I think they entertain quite a bit at home. But of course, there are some wonderful restaurants as well.
What was the typical weather of Australia?
Australia has the 3 seasons. It has its winter, 4 seasons really, winter, spring, summer, and autumn. Only, as it's way down under, it's the other way around. Their winter is in our summer, and their summer is in our winter.
And what is like more drastic? The heat in summer or
Well, probably the heat in summer, yes.
Well, thank you very much for this interview, Diana, and I hope you can go and visit your Australia.
Thank you very much, Sebastian.